So I mean, my imagination of the book, I mean, I find it's important for me, at any rate, to think of the book as a physical entity as much as a series of abstract things. And when I read novels where it's like somebody's diary or something like that, but I don't find it a convincing fiction, the creation of the novel. So for me there has to be a kind of a believable story, and here the story was a bunch of pages in a stack which somebody, for some unknown reason, decided to bind up and treat as if they were a continuous book. And so all the discontinuities are just...
Yes, and well, all of the books in the trilogy are kind of found objects, aren't they, in one way or another. I mean, I'm going to jump over Atlantis, which is the middle book, but then the third book, the big one, is this book that seemed to kind of grow out of the internet and blogging, and it actually existed right from its inception. You actually had it as a blog, and there were secret sort of places that you just work on it and build up these characters and things.
That's right.
And so the actual manifestation of it as a book is actually, the book was really a way of referring back to the online version of the novel or group of stories that you created.
Yes, so the fiction there was a printout from this online version.
Yeah, exactly.
So it simply is, making a hard copy out of a thing which had prior electronic existence. And I guess what interests me is that when you have a fiction of the creation of the book as well as the fiction within the book, you then have to speculate about the nature of the creator, because if the fiction is carried that far, clearly the creator can't simply be the author of the novel, because why bother to make a mystery out of the fact you've written a novel? So in each case it seems to me there's a shadowy master narrator behind each book.
And in each book we're going through different sort of psychological dysfunctions. That the first master creator is a kind of an insomniac, or is in some way obsessed with insomnia, so presumably he's an insomniac. And then the second one you've got amnesia, which is in many ways the most total kind of state. It's a very strange position to write from the position of amnesia. It's very paradoxical. And in the third book you've got a kind of this hysterical blindness. So you've gone through these three different conditions, and each condition seems to say, as a metaphor, there's things that are common between them, but they produce different literary effects, these conditions, and they seem to be, I don't know if you call them metaphors or paradigms, or maybe both, but they are...
Both, I guess.
Yeah, but as metaphors, they're not exactly the same, but they're similar. I mean, insomnia and amnesia, if you think of them as a metaphor for, say, our wider society, and I mean, there's something in common there, but they're almost opposite too, aren't they?
Well, it was interesting what you were saying before about how cities kind of open up at night and how they light up, and there's a sort of living reality to them. And I thought, well, the insomniac has kind of the entry to a quite alien world, because the world that everybody else is sleeping through, and they're literally inhabiting a different universe even though it's the same place. I thought, well, that's exactly the kind of thinking I want my reader to be doing.
So it's alienation?
Yes, it's alienation, but it's also discovery. You're going into yourself, but you're also going to this world which you're exploring, and are you going mad, or are you discovering things that are actually there? And that's left open, I think, at the end of the book. Has the person flipped, or have they actually achieved some transcendent state? Because their own sense of what's happened, the narrator's own sense of what's happened to him, is not presumably the reading of the outside world as to what's happened to him.